Hello everyone, I am back after my very short and abbreviated hiatus with new parts, which means new builds. So I'm going to be putting this build together for you guys, essentially doing a tutorial about everything that I'm doing, my entire build process, and at the end, hopefully we will have a cool looking system. So let's get into it. Alright, so the first step of any major computer build, in my opinion, is start with a motherboard. So I'm going to go ahead and time-lapse my installation of the CPU, the RAM, and the SSD. Alright, so our motherboard is now complete. We've installed our processor, we've installed our RAM, and we've installed our storage. The next step is actually going to be to install our AIO cooler, so let's go ahead and get that unboxed, and then we'll get it mounted on the processor. Okay, so that's pretty much everything unboxed, and I will have to say, this is a pretty nice package of, like, all the stuff that they give you. Obviously, we've got our mounting gear for our AMD socket, but it comes with this little fan hub, which I think is pretty cool, and this big tube of thermal paste. Like, I know that AIO companies usually throw in, like, a smaller tube, but this is kind of massive, which is kind of cool. So shout out to Thermalray, this is a pretty good package. So we're gonna go ahead now and get everything mounted on our motherboard. Okay, so our radiator is now mounted to the motherboard after some minor hiccups. So we're going to go ahead and now install this into our case. Alright, so there is our motherboard and radiator all installed. I'm going to go ahead and take care of all these wires and just like group them all up and then tuck them behind. And our next step will then be to do the front panel wiring to the bottom of the motherboard and then to install our power supply. Alright, so our graphics card is installed. I'm going to go ahead and get the back panel back on the computer, and then we should be good to go ahead and try to boot it up. So I'm going to tidy up everything else and then get back to you guys when I am done. Alright, so I checked over all my connections, everything looks good. I'm going to go ahead and boot up the computer. We should have a boot on the first try, I'm pretty confident, but let's go ahead and see it for ourselves. Alright. Looks good, all of our fans appear to be running. I can hear the pump. There's a light on our NVMe, and our GPU is spinning as well. So all the good signs, and there's our video. Perfect splash screen. And BIOS. Awesome. So there we go. It's detecting our motherboard, obviously, our CPU, our RAM, and our drive. So successful first boot. I'm going to go ahead and get Windows installed. I don't have anything else to say, unfortunately. But I will see you guys next time.